All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Vantech Wabag's Q2 FY25 financials.
Oh yeah, the water treatment folks.
Exactly. To really get a feel for how they're doing, we've got a few things to look at.
Okay, sounds good.
First up, we have their official announcement letter. Then there's the detailed standalone and consolidated reports.
Ah, the nitty-gritty.
And to top it all off, a press release with some juicy insights straight from management.
Ooh, straight from the source.
So we've got a century of experience in water solutions, a global footprint.
A real powerhouse.
Exactly. Let's see how they're stacking up.
Yeah, definitely. Their performance can really give us like a snapshot of the whole water treatment sector.
Totally. And the headlines, they're making a splash.
Okay, let's hear it.
Consolidated revenue hit ours 13,268 million.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
Not bad at all. But what really caught my eye, that 14% year-over-year profit growth.
Oh, wow. Now that's impressive.
Right. And then on top of that, a record-breaking order book of over ours 146 billion.
Wow. Hold on, I need to write that down. 146 billion.
That's 4 times their current revenue visibility. Can you believe it?
That's wild. It seems like they've got a bright future ahead of them.
It does, doesn't it? And to think this is a company with such a long history, they've been around for a while.
Yeah, they've definitely weathered some storms over the years, so this isn't just like a fluke.
You're right, it's not just hype, it's substance.
Exactly. And it's not just by chance either.
You're reading my mind. What do you think is driving this success?
Well, according to their chairman and managing director, it's all about their focused strategy.
Interesting. What kind of strategy are we talking about here?
They're prioritizing technology, engineering procurement, or EP, industrial and international projects.
Oh, wow. So hitting all the right notes.
Yeah, they're hitting those notes. And those notes are translating into some really healthy profit margins, too.
Okay, break it down for me.
We're seeing a 19% year-over-year jump in consolidated EBITDA.
Okay, and remind me, what does EBITDA stand for again?
It stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
Okay, thanks for that refresher.
No problem. And there's more. Consolidated profit after tax, or a PAT, up by a whopping 30.7%.
Wow, now that's a number worth celebrating. Clearly, this strategy is working.
That sure is.
Okay, so we've got these impressive headlines. Let's roll up our sleeves and dive a little deeper into the numbers.
All right, let's get into it.
The press release makes a big deal about their net cash position of 2,220 million.
Okay, so they've got a good chunk of change on hand.
Right. But for those of us who aren't financial wizards, what does that actually mean?
Well, it's a good sign. It means they've got a healthy pile of cash ready to go.
Okay, so what could they do with all that cash?
Well, it gives them a lot of options. They could use it to fuel acquisitions, invest in new technologies, or maybe even just weather any economic storms that might be brewing.
It's like having a financial safety net.
Exactly. And if we take a peek at their cash flow statement,
What do we see?
well, there's a pretty significant chunk of cash generated from financing activities.
Ah, so that's where a big chunk of that cash is coming from. Interesting. And this actually aligns perfectly with their long-term business model.
Oh, really? Tell me more.
They've adopted what's called an asset-light business model.
Asset light.
Yeah. It was like they're the brains behind the operation, not necessarily owning all the physical stuff.
Okay, give me an example.
Okay, imagine they're the architects designing a fancy new building.
Right, I'm picturing it.
They oversee the whole construction process, but they don't actually own the building itself.
So they're making money by being the experts, not by owning a bunch of stuff.
Exactly. It makes them incredibly nimble. They can take on projects all over the world without having to shell out huge sums of money up front.
I see. So that strong cash position gives them even more flexibility, right?
You got it.
Yeah.
They can invest, acquire, adapt, or just ride out any economic turbulence.
That's a smart way to play the game.
Now let's shift gears a bit and zoom in on their different business segments.
Okay, what segments are we talking about?
The reports break down their revenue geographically.
Ah, so we're talking about India versus the rest of the world.
You got it. It's always interesting to see how those two stack up, don't you think?
Absolutely. It gives us a glimpse into where their growth is coming from, right? Are they riding that wave of domestic projects, or are they really making a splash internationally?
Exactly. Let's dive into the numbers and see what they tell us.
Okay, I'm ready.
Now, looking at the segment-wise revenue section, interesting.
What's catching your eye?
It seems the rest of the world segment is really putting on a show this quarter.
Oh, really?
They pulled in ours 3,460 million in revenue.
And how does that compare to India?
India's sitting at ours 3,755 million. So just a little bit ahead.
So the rest of the world is really catching up, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But when we look at the half-year figures, India is still the bigger contributor overall.
Right, but that momentum in the rest of the world segment, that's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Agreed. It'll be interesting to see how that develops. But, revenue doesn't always tell the whole story, does it?
Nope, not at all. We need to dig a bit deeper to see what's really going on.
We need to look at the profitability of each segment.
Exactly. After all, a rupee earned in one segment might be worth more than a rupee earned in another.
Okay, so where do we look for that information?
The segment results section is a good place to start. Let's see. Here we go.
What have you found?
Well, both segments are performing well. But get this, the rest of the world actually boasts a higher profit margin this quarter.
Really? So even though they're bringing in slightly less revenue, they're making more profit on each rupee earned.
Precisely. It seems those international projects are particularly lucrative.
Now that's an interesting twist. It seems like they've found some real sweet spots in other parts of the world.
They have. But it makes you wonder, why are those international projects so profitable?
Good question. What do you think?
Well, remember how Wabag is focusing on technology and international projects?
Right, we talked about that earlier.
It seems like those two things are really coming together here. Many of their international projects involve some pretty cutting-edge technologies.
Okay, like what? Give me some examples.
Well, they're using seawater reverse osmosis, or SWRO, for desalination.
Okay, I've heard of that.
And they're also implementing advanced industrial effluent treatment solutions.
So they're not just using the same old technologies, they're really pushing the boundary.
Right. And these technologies often command higher margins,
Makes sense. So they're not only solving complex water challenges, but also positioning themselves as leaders in the field.
Exactly.
That's
It's a smart strategy.
Before we move on, can we just take a moment to appreciate that massive order book again?
Oh, absolutely. It's truly remarkable.
Our 146 billion.
Mm.
It's a testament to their reputation, their expertise,
Yeah, it shows that they're able to secure those large-scale, complex projects that really make a difference.
The kind of projects that really have an impact. But what's driving this phenomenal growth?
That's a great question. Is it municipal or industrial projects?
Yeah, and geographically, is it mostly India, or are they winning big contracts all over the globe?
Let's see if we can find some clues in the order book analysis section.
Good idea. That should give us some insight into what's fueling this engine of growth.
Okay, let's dive in.
So what does the order book analysis tell us?
Well, it looks like both municipal and industrial projects are contributing to this impressive growth.
Really? So it's a pretty balanced mix.
It is. Municipal orders represent about 61% of the total order book.
Okay, so it's a slight majority.
Right. And industrial projects account for the remaining 39%.
So a healthy balance between the two. But what about geographically?
Let's see. It looks like the rest of the world segment actually takes the lead here.
Interesting. So they're not just geographically diverse in terms of revenue. Their future projects also paint a picture of a truly global company.
Yeah, they're strategically positioning themselves to capitalize on growth opportunities in all sorts of different regions.
And that makes them less reliant on any single market, right?
Exactly. It's a smart move, especially in today's unpredictable world.
So they're spreading the risk and maximizing their potential.
Precisely. But you know what really caught my eye? Beyond the impressive financials,
What's that?
their commitment to sustainability. They're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk.
Yeah, I saw that. They have this whole Akshay Veda initiative, right?
Exactly. It's all about reducing their carbon footprint and becoming more resource efficient.
And they even highlighted how much water they treat every single day.
It's a staggering amount, over 27 million cubic meters.
Wow. It's clear they're genuinely trying to make a positive impact on the world, not just focusing on the bottom line.
It's really refreshing to see. And their involvement in the Clean Ganga mission in India, that speaks volumes too.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about that.
Well, they're using this innovative one city, one operator model for a landmark project.
Can you refresh my memory on how that model works?
Sure. It's all about streamlining the management of a city's entire water infrastructure.
Yeah.
You basically put one specialized entity in charge of everything.
So instead of having a bunch of different organizations managing different parts of the system.
You have one expert team overseeing the entire operation.
Makes sense. So Wabag is leading the charge with this approach.
They are. They're responsible for operating and maintaining a whole network of sewage treatment plants and pumping stations in Agra and Ghaziabad.
And those are two major cities in India, right?
We are. And the goal is to make sure that the treated sewage flows safely into the Yamuna River.
And the Yamuna River is a major tributary of the Ganges, right?
Exactly. So they're literally cleaning up the Ganges city by city.
It's like a ripple effect, starting with one city and then spreading outwards.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
And they're not just focused on the technical aspects either. They're also thinking about the people.
In what way?
Well, they're working to resolve sewer network issues quickly and efficiently.
So they're not just building these systems and then walking away. They're making sure they actually work for the people who rely on them.
Precisely. It's all about providing a reliable water supply for communities and ensuring customer satisfaction.
It's about making a real difference in people's lives.
Exactly. It's interesting how Wabag's commitment to sustainability might actually give them a competitive edge.
Oh, you think so? How so?
Well, think about all those awards they've been racking up.
Yeah, we talked about those in the last part. They've won quite a few.
Exactly. And those awards aren't just for show. They actually point to a bigger trend.
What kind of trend?
It seems like companies that are actively addressing environmental and social issues, they're the ones gaining a real advantage in the marketplace.
So, like, doing good is good business now.
Exactly. Investors are increasingly looking for companies with strong ESG credentials.
ESG. Remind me what that stands for again.
Environmental, social, and governance.
Right.
Yeah,
And you're saying that customers are also becoming more discerning?
absolutely. They're choosing brands that align with their values.
So Wabag is smart to highlight these aspects of their operations.
Exactly. They're tapping into a growing trend. And you know what? This trend is only going to get stronger.
Really? Why do you think that?
Well, the world is facing some serious challenges, right?
Absolutely. Climate change, water scarcity, social inequality, the list goes on and on.
Exactly. And companies that offer solutions to these problems, they're going to be in high demand.
So Wabag is positioning themselves for a future where sustainability isn't just a nice bonus, it's a necessity.
Precisely. They're playing the long game.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a moment.
Okay, where are we headed?
Let's zoom in on those booming international projects that are driving the rest of the world's segment's growth.
Yeah, that segment is really performing well. What are some of the specific projects that are fueling the success?
Well, their presentation highlights several landmark projects.
Okay, give me the highlights.
Well, there's the largest desalination plant in Oman, for one.
Wow, that's impressive.
It is. It's 191 million liters per day. Seawater reverse osmosis facility in Al Ghubra.
191 million liters per day. That's a lot of water.
It is. And then there's a major industrial effluent treatment plant in Malaysia for Petronas.
Petronas, that's a big name in the energy sector.
It is. And this plant is the largest of its kind in Southeast Asia.
Wow, they're really making their mark internationally.
They are. And their reach doesn't stop there. They've also got a 130 MLD drinking water treatment plant in Tanzania.
Tanzania, that's in Africa, right?
It is. And this project is particularly interesting because it was the first water project in Africa to be commissioned under EXI India funding.
Exim India, that's the Export-Import Bank of India, right?
Exactly. They provide financial support for Indian companies that are expanding overseas.
So this project is a sign of India's growing global influence.
It is. And it's not just about Africa. They've also got a massive water reclamation plant for a new satellite city near Cairo, Egypt.
From the Middle East to Africa to Southeast Asia, it's clear they're making a global impact.
They are. But it's not just about geographic diversity, is it?
What else is there?
They're also tackling a wide range of water challenges.
Like what?
Well, we've talked about desalination, but they're also involved in wastewater treatment, industrial effluent treatment, drinking water supply, you name it.
So they're a one-stop shop for water solutions.
Exactly. And that versatility is a major asset.
It makes them a valuable partner for governments and businesses all over the world.
Absolutely. Now let's bring it back home to India for a moment.
Okay, what's happening on the domestic front?
Well, they're still deeply involved in the Clean Ganga mission.
Yeah, that's a massive undertaking. Cleaning up the Ganges River is a huge priority for India.
It is. And it's a mission close to the heart of many Indians. The Ganges is a sacred river.
It's a cornerstone of India's cultural and spiritual heritage.
Exactly. And Wabag is playing a key role in this revitalization effort.
We talked about their involvement in a project using the one city, one operator model, right?
We did. Can you remember how that model works?
Well, it's about having one entity manage all the water infrastructure for an entire city, right?
And all the treatment plants, pumping stations, pipelines, everything.
So it's about streamlining the management and improving efficiency.
Exactly. And VedTech Wabag is leading the charge with this approach.
So where are they implementing this model?
Well, they're managing a huge network of sewage treatment plants and pumping stations in Agra and Ghaziabad.
Those are two major cities in India, right?
They are, and they're making sure that the treated sewage is safely discharged into the Yamuna River.
Which is a major tributary of the Ganges.
Exactly. So they're literally cleaning up the Ganges one city at a time.
And it's not just about the technical side of things, right? They're also focused on the people.
Absolutely. They're working hard to resolve any sewer network issues quickly and efficiently.
So they're making sure that the system actually works for the people who rely on it.
Exactly. And they're also focused on customer satisfaction. They want to make sure that people are happy with the service they're providing.
It's about building trust and building relationships.
It is. Now let's shift our focus to the financial details of their Indian operations.
Okay, sounds good. What are we looking at?
Well, we saw in the segment-wise revenue section that India is still their largest market.
Right, makes sense. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's not really surprising when you consider the sheer scale of India's water challenges.
India has a huge population and a rapidly growing economy.
Exactly. And that puts immense pressure on water resources.
So there's a huge demand for companies like VedTech Wabag that can provide solutions.
Absolutely. And they're well positioned to meet that demand.
How so?
Well, they have a deep understanding of the Indian market.
They've been operating in India for a long time.
Exactly. And they have a strong track record of successful projects.
And they've built a vast network of local partners.
Right. So they're really embedded in the Indian business ecosystem.
Their presentation highlights several landmark projects in India, doesn't it?
It does. There's the 110 MLD SWRO desalination plant in Nemli, Chennai, for one.
Okay, and remind me what SWRO stands for again?
Seawater reverse osmosis.
Right, right. And this plant was India's largest operational desalination plant for quite some time.
It was. They also constructed a 54 MLD effluent treatment and recycling plant for Indian Oil Corporation Limited in Paradip, Odisha.
So they're working with some big names in India.
They are, and they're not afraid to take on complex and challenging projects.
What about that 45 MLD tertiary treatment reverse osmosis plant in Coimbatore, Chennai? I remember reading about that one.
Ah, yes. That's a fascinating project.
What's so special about it?
Well, it's one of the largest and most technologically advanced water reuse plants in India.
So they're really pushing the boundaries of innovation.
They are, and they're using some cutting-edge AI technology in this plant.
AI, you mean artificial intelligence?
Exactly. They're using an operational intelligence platform powered by AI to optimize performance and efficiency.
Wow, that's really impressive.
It is. And it's not just about flashy technology either. They're also dedicated to making their plants as energy efficient as possible.
So they're thinking about the environmental impact as well.
Absolutely. They highlighted the 110 MLD sewage treatment plant in Kodungallur, Chennai, as one of the most energy efficient and energy neutral STPs in the country.
STPs, that's sewage treatment plants, right?
Yeah. So they're saving money and reducing their environmental impact. It's a win-win.
It's a great example of how sustainability can go hand in hand with profitability.
Exactly. And this focus on sustainability is woven into everything they do, especially with their Akshay Vata initiative.
Right, we talked about that earlier.
They're implementing a whole range of measures to reduce their carbon footprint, conserve water, and promote a circular economy.
So they're really walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. Now let's circle back to that impressive order book of theirs.
Oh yeah, that record-breaking order book of over 146 billion.
Exactly. It's a real testament to their success. But what are some of the key projects driving this growth?
Yeah, let's break it down.
Well, in the order book analysis section, they highlight several major projects, both domestic and international.
Okay, give me some examples.
On the domestic front, there's a massive 400 MLD desalination plant in Perur, Chennai.
Wow, that's huge.
It is. And they also have a major contract for the operation and maintenance of water infrastructure in Agra and Ghaziabad.
That's under the one city, one operator model?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So they're really expanding their presence in that space.
Okay, what about internationally? What's in the pipeline?
Well, they've secured a contract for a 300 MLD desalination plant in Yambol Bar, Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, that's a big market for desalination.
It is. And they've also got another major desalination project in Andhra Pradesh, India.
So they're winning big contracts both at home and abroad.
They are. And their order book is a real window into the future of their business.
And it's looking bright.
It is. But let's dig a little deeper here.
Okay, what are we digging into?
Well, the presentation breaks down their order book by business offering, engineering, procurement, and construction, or EPC, versus operations and maintenance, or O&M.
Okay, I'm following. What's the significance of that distinction?
Well, it's an important one. EPC projects tend to be more one-off, you know.
So you build it and then you move on.
Exactly. But O&M contracts, those provide a recurring revenue stream.
It's like a subscription service for water infrastructure.
Exactly. So which way is Wabag leaning? More EPC or more O&M?
Yeah, what's the balance?
Well, right now, EPC projects dominate their order book.
By how much?
They make up about 81%.
Okay, so the vast majority.
Right. But O&M is a growing segment for them.
How much of the order book does that represent?
About 19%. So strategically, it seems like they're aiming for a balanced portfolio.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Exactly. They're diversifying their revenue streams, which is a smart move.
Okay, but what about the types of customers they're serving? Are they mostly working with governments or businesses?
Well, the presentation also breaks down their order book by municipal versus industrial segments.
Okay, what's the split there?
Right now, municipal projects are the heavy hitters.
How much of the order book do they represent?
About 67%.
So 2/3.
Right. And this makes sense, with rapid urbanization happening all over the world.
Cities need more and more water and wastewater treatment solutions.
Exactly. But the industrial segment isn't lagging behind either.
What kind of projects are they working on in that segment?
Well, it's a pretty diverse range. Everything from effluent treatment plants for oil refineries and chemical plants to water systems for power plants and manufacturing facilities.
So they're really catering to a wide range of industries.
They are, and it's a testament to the versatility of their technology.
And their ability to tailor solutions to specific client needs.
Exactly. But let's not forget about the geographic breakdown of their order book.
Right, we already established that they're winning big internationally.
Yes, and that's clearly reflected in their order book. Projects from the rest of the world segment actually make up a slightly larger portion than projects from India.
Wow, so their international expansion is really paying off.
It is. It's a sign of their commitment to global diversification.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about their sustainability initiatives, their global reach, their impressive order book, their diverse project portfolio.
It's been a whirlwind tour.
It has. But even with this stellar performance, there are always risks and challenges to consider, right?
You're absolutely right. No company is immune to the ups and downs of the global economy.
And the complexities of international markets.
Exactly. And the competitive landscape is always evolving.
So in part 3 of our deep dive, we'll take a closer look at these challenges.
We'll explore the potential risks and opportunities that lie ahead for Wabag.
So stay tuned. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already, but we can't just focus on the positives, right?
Of course not. Every business faces its share of challenges.
Exactly. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Risks.
Okay. The risks.
Even with this stellar performance, a company with such a robust order book.
Yeah, no company is completely immune to challenges.
It's like, sailing a ship. You can have the best captain, a sturdy vessel,
Right.
but you can't control the weather.
You can't control the currents.
Exactly. So what are some of those potential storms brewing on the horizon for Wabag?
Well, first off, the global economic outlook. It's a bit shaky right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty out there.
You've got rising interest rates, inflation, geopolitical tensions.
Right, all those things can have a real impact.
Absolutely. They could impact Wabag's financing costs, project timelines, even client budgets.
So if their clients are feeling the pinch?
Exactly. They might start tightening their belts, maybe delay, or even cancel projects.
It's a domino effect.
It is. Any instability in the global economy can trickle down and impact them.
And, we can't forget that a lot of their projects are in emerging markets.
Right. Those markets can be especially vulnerable
to economic and political volatility.
Absolutely. Political instability, regulatory changes, even currency fluctuations.
All those things can really throw a wrench in their plans.
Yeah, one minute things are looking good, the next minute it's a whole different story.
So geographic diversity, it's a strength, sure, because it spreads their reach.
Right, it reduces their reliance on any one market.
But it also exposes them to a wider range of risks.
Exactly, it's a double-edged sword.
And then there's the competitive landscape.
Yeah.
The water treatment industry, it's getting pretty crowded.
Oh, yeah. There are a lot of players out there now, both local and international.
All vying for the same project.
Fighting for a piece of the pie.
So Wabag, they can't afford to just sit back and relax.
They need to stay ahead of the game.
Innovate, differentiate themselves, offer competitive pricing.
It's a constant hustle.
It's the name of the game. And, even when they do win those big
Yeah, the
contracts,
job's not done then.
right, there are still risks associated with actually executing those complex, large-scale projects.
Oh, absolutely. Things don't always go according to plan.
What kind of things could go wrong?
Oh, all sorts of things. Cost overruns, unexpected delays, technical challenges,
Right. Things happen.
even labor disputes, those can pop up
And those can all impact their profitability.
and potentially damage their reputation.
It's a high-stakes game.
It is,
Yeah.
and managing projects across so many different countries.
Each with their own regulations, legal systems, cultural norms.
Yeah, you need a really skilled and adaptable team to navigate all that.
One misstep could lead to costly delays.
Even project cancellations.
So VATTech Wabag really needs to be on top of their game
Vigilant and proactive.
to mitigate these risks.
Absolutely. But to be fair, they seem to be aware of these challenges.
Okay, good.
Their presentation, they emphasize risk management, strong corporate governance, operational excellence.
So they're not just hoping for the best.
No, they're putting systems in place to manage those risks.
That's reassuring. But let's be realistic. No risk management strategy is perfect.
That's true.
So what advice would you give to our listener who might be thinking about investing in VantaTech Wallbag?
Well, it's clear that this company has a lot going for it.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Strong financials, that impressive order book, their commitment to sustainability.
And their global reach.
Exactly. But like with any investment, you need to weigh the potential rewards against the risks.
Don't just jump in blindly.
Exactly. Do your homework, understand the industry, the competitive landscape.
The economic and political environments where they operate.
Right. Because those factors can have a real impact on their business.
It's about making informed decisions.
Decisions that align with your own risk tolerance and your investment goals.
Sound advice. So I think we've given our listener a pretty comprehensive look at VanTech Wabag's Q2 FY25 financials.
I think so. We've covered a lot of ground.
Their performance, their global impact, their sustainability efforts, the risks they face.
We've really dug deep.
But the business world, it's constantly changing.
Always evolving.
So stay curious, keep learning.
And never stop asking questions.
On that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into VanTech Wabag.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure, as always. Until next time, happy investing.